Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I am the Customer Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, The Power of IT Budgeting, Best Practices, Challenges, and Keys to Business Success, presented by David Monroe. Before we get started, let's go over some housekeeping items. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, throughout the webinar, you can submit any questions you have. If you'd like to submit a question, look for the questions section in your GoToWebinar, and we'll answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We're also recording this presentation, and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees, as well as those who registered but were unable to attend. And finally, we'd appreciate your participation in our closing poll and survey. With that said, we're thrilled that you've taken some time out of your busy day to be with us on this webinar. SWK is here to help you fulfill your vision of a smarter and easier way to run your business by providing you tools, support, software, and industry knowledge whenever you need it. So whether you're here to explore new solutions or you're just here to learn, don't hesitate to ask any questions you have. And as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels. Check us out and give us a follow on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube so you don't miss out. Okay, that's enough from me. Let's hand it over to David for the main event.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Dave Monroe. I'm one of the technical account managers here at SWK. In my role as a technical account manager, I guide my clients through complex infrastructure, cybersecurity, licensing, and line of business application challenges, among a few other things. So I just have a brief agenda up here today. Start out by going into introducing you to the world of IT budgeting, going through some benefits and key components of IT budgeting, the actual process, best practices and challenges, the role of dedicated resource, and then we'll finish it up with with a recap and some key takeaways there. Just a brief overview of SWK Technologies. We're a nationally recognized MSP and solutions provider here in North America. We have nationwide coverage, leveraging over 170 employees nationwide to delight our customers and enable success. Leave this slide up here for a couple additional seconds. There's a bunch of awards that we've won over the last few years. An MSP 501 2021 winner, MSP 500 in 2023. There's a bunch of accolades here. We're very highly accomplished in ERP accounting software, software automation, managed services, IT help desk, cybersecurity, very important there. All right, so just going to get into it. Introduction to IT budgeting. So IT budgeting defined. Proper IT budgeting is the process of strategically allocating financial resources to support your organization's information technology needs. It involves determining how much money should be allocated to various IT projects, departments, initiatives, to align with your company's overall goals and objectives. The role of IT budgeting in modern business is pivotal, right? As technology has become an integral part of nearly every aspect of operations and decision making. Proper budgeting supports enabling strategic initiatives, proper resource allocation and prioritization, cyber incident response and preparedness, cost control and optimization, and adherence to compliance and regulatory boards. Some benefits and key components here. There's quite a bit up here on the screen, so I'm just going to go through each one of these bullet points here and kind of describe what I mean by it, right? So IT budgeting is a crucial process for organizations to allocate resources and effectively manage their information technology needs. Some benefits: resource allocation. IT budgeting helps allocate resources, both financial and the people factor, right, to various technology initiatives and projects according to their priorities and strategic importance. We have cost control. Another benefit, it allows, meaning IT budgeting allows organizations to monitor and control IT-related expenses, preventing overspending and ensuring cost effectiveness. There's strategic alignment, risk management, prioritization. Budgeting helps prioritize IT projects and initiatives based on their impact on the organization, ensuring the most critical projects receive the adequate funding. Financial transparency, IT budgets, and budgeting in general provide transparency into how IT resources are used, making it easier for stakeholders to understand where the money is going and to also recognize a return on that investment as well. So key components, strategic goals and objectives. The IT budget should align with the organization's strategic goals and objectives, right? Ensuring that any of these investments support the overall business strategy, Expense categories. The budget should include various expense categories such as hardware, software, personnel, maintenance, training, and also overage and contingency costs and funds. Project prioritization, prioritizing IT projects based on their importance and potential impact on the organization. Make sure that enough resources, make sure the resources are allocated accordingly. Right? Cost estimation, timeline and milestones, establish timelines and project milestones to track progress and ensure that projects are completed on schedule. Very important. IT governance, compliance and security. So compliance and security ensures that a budget includes provisions for compliance with regulations and security measures to protect your organization's data and assets. And setting up regular reviews and making adjustment periods. IT budgets should most definitely not be static. They should be fluid. They should be regularly reviewed and adjusted as needed to adapt to changing business conditions and technology trends. Overall, effective IT budgeting requires collaboration between IT departments and other business units to ensure that technology investments are aligned with your organization's strategic goals and contribute to your success. As a TAM, a technical account manager, my position and this level of collaboration, getting in this deep with each one of my clients, they've come to expect that. So the IT budgeting process. So what are some steps? What are some things that you can do to outline the process ahead of time for yourself, right? So the IT budgeting process involves several steps to ensure effective resource allocation in alignment with organizational goals. Defining strategic initiatives or objectives, begin by understanding your organization's strategic goals and objectives. IT budgeting should align closely with these goals to ensure that technology investments support the overall business strategy. Identify IT initiatives and projects that are directly related to achieving those strategic initiatives and objectives. Next, you want to gather input, and requirements. Collaborate internally with key stakeholders across your organization, including department heads, IT teams, business leaders. Collaborate with anyone that might have some sort of stake in this to gather input on the technology needs and requirements, right? And make sure to document the specific IT projects, initiatives, and operational expenses that are anticipated for that budgeting period. Estimating costs, breaking down the IT budget into different categories: hardware, software, personnel, maintenance, training, contingency, and overage funds. I briefly touched upon that before, but it's very important. Estimate the costs associated with each category, considering different factors like equipment purchases, software licensing, labor, ongoing operational costs, and any other additional costs that could potentially be related to a specific project. And that could include soft costs too, right? Prioritizing these projects, evaluate the importance and potential impact of each IT project or initiative on the organization. Prioritize these projects based on their alignment with your company's strategic objectives, potential ROI, and the criticality to the business. Ensure that the higher priority projects receive the adequate funding and those resources. Very, very important. Next, create a budget proposal. Work with your MSP or vendors to create a budget proposal for a specific product or a specific project. Compile all the estimated costs, break those down, and break those down into a comprehensive IT budget proposal. Just make sure you categorize appropriately. And if you need any help or assistance, reach out to either an internal stakeholder or if you work with us as a managed service customer, that's something that one of us here in the on a technical account management team can also handle. Make sure you clearly outline the expenses for each category, the timeline for these projects, and any associated revenue projections if applicable. Present the budget proposal to senior management. Make sure you get buy-in from anyone who has a stake in this, right? Getting proper buy-in, knowing your parameters to operate within that framework, very, very important. And lastly, especially regarding the process here, make sure you monitor and review. Like I was mentioning before, an IT budget is fluid. Once the budget is approved, establish a system for ongoing monitoring and review of IT spending. Regularly track actual expenses and against the budgeted amounts to ensure compliance and identify any discrepancies or variances. Conduct periodic reviews to assess the progress of any of these IT projects and adjust the budgets as needed based on the changing circumstances. Make informed decisions on your resource allocation. Throughout the IT budgeting process, communication and collaboration between IT leaders, finance teams, or any other stakeholders, that's essential to ensure that the budget reflects the organization's strategic priorities, prevents surprises, allows for growth of that budget, right? Allows for unforeseen expenses that could pop up, more time, more resources, and the IT budget should definitely adapt to the evolving business needs and technology needs. Some best practices here that I have listed out: alignment with business goals, ensure that the IT budget is closely aligned with the organization's strategic goals and objectives. IT investments should directly support and enhance your business's overall strategy. That's very, very important. This alignment helps prioritize IT projects and ensures that resources are allocated to initiatives that provide the most significant business value. Regular communication and collaboration. Foster an environment, a culture of collaboration, open communication between IT departments, your finance teams, your business units, departments, whoever has a stake in IT within your environment, right, within your organization. Collaboration ensures that all stakeholders have a clear understanding of IT needs, their priorities, and their financial constraints, leading to more accurate and effective budgeting decisions. Prioritization and risk assessment, make sure to prioritize IT projects based on their impact to the organization and any potential ROI. Assess and plan for risk associated with each project. Prioritization helps allocate resources wisely, and proactive risk assessment allows for these mitigation strategies, right? Reducing the chances of budget overruns and project failures. Flexible and agile budgeting. Create a budget that is flexible and can adapt to changing business conditions and technology trends, including funds for contingencies or overages. Scope creep is a very popular one. Typically, I recommend whatever your total IT budget is, allow between 15 to 20% of that budget for any scope creep, for any overages, any unforeseen circumstances. And continuous monitoring and reporting, right? So implement a robust system for monitoring IT expenses and project progress against your budget. Generate regular reports to track spending and project performance. Monitoring and reporting provide transparency into IT spending, allowing for early identification of issues, efficient resource allocation, and accountability. Just with any business or budget process, right, there are definitely challenges, right, especially in the IT world. Balancing priorities, very, very important to consider this challenge. Depending on where a stakeholder is in the organization, the priorities in terms of IT would change, right? So IT budgeting often involves difficult decisions about which projects to fund and which to defer, which can affect those stakeholders. So balancing competing priorities can be challenging, especially when resources are limited. The changing technology landscape. So rapid advancements in technology and can lead to uncertainty in budgeting. It's difficult to predict which technologies will be most impactful in the future, making it challenging to allocate funds effectively. Scope creep. Anyone who has done any project, whether it's IT related or otherwise, project scope can expand beyond its initial estimates, leading to budget overruns. Managing scope creep is crucial to staying within budgetary constraints. That's why on the previous slide, I recommended an additional 15, 20, or even upwards of 30%, allowing that much, depending on the project, right? Allowing that much wiggle room inside of your budget uh, can definitely help you stay within your overall budgetary constraints. Cybersecurity and compliance costs. Cybersecurity threats, they continue to evolve, and compliance requirements are becoming more stringent as a result. So budgeting for adequate security measures and compliance can strain resources. Here at SWK, we have a security and compliance team that, as a technical account manager, I work very closely with to try to, during the budget and proposal process, or even budget reviews, yearly budget reviews, or quarterly, or whenever the occurrence is, I work with our security and compliance team on a very regular basis to forecast out what that looks like based on the current trends that they are seeing. Resource constraints. IT talent is in high demand, and attracting and retaining skilled IT professionals can be a challenge. A shortage of skilled personnel can definitely affect project timelines and increase costs. So that is definitely a challenge to consider as well. Navigating these challenges while implementing best practices is essential for successful IT budgeting. Flexibility, adaptability, and a clear understanding of your organization's strategic goals are key to addressing these challenges effectively. So the next couple of slides here have to deal with the role of a dedicated resource. I broke this down into two different sections, right? One is more internal meaning on your side, and the other is the role of a TAM or technical account manager like myself in the budgeting process. So first, I'm going to take the role of a dedicated resource. So having a dedicated resource allocated to oversee the IT budgeting process can greatly enhance its effectiveness. The role should bring a focus and expertise in budgeting, right? So a dedicated resource should bring expertise in financial management and general budgeting. Their focus on the budgeting process ensures a deep understanding of the financial intricacies of your company and also industry best practices. They should also bring coordination and communication. This role serves as a central point of contact for all stakeholders, whether they're internal or whether they're external, anyone who's involved in the budgeting process. They should facilitate clear communication and coordination between IT teams, finance departments, business units, vendors, anybody who has a stake in whatever project or line items essentially is being budgeted for, right? They should also bring some data analysis and forecasting experience to the role. So the dedicated resource can analyze historical spending patterns, identify trends, and make informed forecasts, helping to create a more accurate and realistic budget. Cost optimization, I have brought this up several times at this point, but it's very important to consider also. They should actively identify cost-saving opportunities, negotiate with vendors, and explore alternative solutions to optimize IT spending, ensuring that the budget resources are used effectively. Risk management. The resource is also responsible for assessing and mitigating budget-related risks. They can anticipate potential budget overruns, plan for contingencies, and help make data-driven decisions to manage these risks effectively. Switching over to the role of a TAM in the budgeting process. So for our managed service clients, one of the major value adds is that they are assigned a technical account manager, or a TAM, like myself. As TAM, I play a critical role in the IT budgeting process, especially when it involves vendor relationships, technology investments, industry knowledge, trends, internal SWK resources, such as the security and compliance team I mentioned earlier. Vendor management. TAM can provide insights into the costs associated with vendor contracts, licenses, services, especially And then we're really big into Microsoft, right? So Microsoft licensing is a beast. That's one area that we can provide some really, great guidance in. All the SWK services that we offer, we help in evaluating vendor relationships, ensuring, that the contracts that you are presented with align with your budgetary constraints and also your strategic initiatives as a company. We're very, very involved in that process. Technology assessments. As a TAM, I have in-depth knowledge of products and services offered by SWK and our associated vendors. And just overall, general IT, enterprise and level IT knowledge, right? As a TAM, I assist in assessing the value of technology investments, ensuring that they meet your organization's needs and budgetary requirements. Lifecycle planning, that's another area that a TAM assists in. We assist there in planning for the entire lifecycle of technology assets, from firewalls to servers to workstations, any of your critical infrastructure. We can help budget for these upgrades, their maintenance, replacements, preventing unexpected expenses, things of that nature. Some problem excuse me, just take a drink. Sorry about that. So problem resolution in the case of technical issues or challenges with vendor products or services. As a TAM, I act as a liaison between the organization and SWK, between your organization and SWK, helping to resolve issues efficiently, minimizing disruptions that could impact your budget and also impact your operations. Strategic guidance. As a TAM, offer strategic guidance by aligning technology solutions with your organization's long-term goals. As a TAM, I can advise on which technologies are worth the investment and which may not provide the desired outcome or, ROI. Incorporating your technical account manager into the IT budgeting process at a deep level can really lead to a more informed decisions and a more efficient allocation of resources, ultimately contributing to the success of your IT initiatives and financial management. So as far as new content, that's all I have for you today. I do want to take a minute here to kind of recap and give you some key takeaways, right? So IT budgeting as a whole is vital for the allocation of resources, for aligning technology investments with strategic initiatives, dedicating an internal resource, somebody that, whether it's a TAM or a customer account manager on the Sage side, and we do a big Sage, a big Sage ERP business. So your customer account manager, your TAM, incorporating and taking advantage of us in that process leads to really successful outcomes. The best practices that I listed a few slides ago, make sure you take those best practices and then adapt them to your business, your organization, adapt them to what makes sense for you, right? Addressing those challenges. The challenges I listed, they're just a few, right? Anybody who's been involved in any budgeting process knows that challenges. The list just can keep going on and on. Just be aware of the big ones and be agile enough to navigate within those challenges, right? And maybe even proactively addressing them before they become a challenge. And lastly, make sure that you give the budgeting process the proper amount of time. There is a lot of instances where it's December 27th and having a client review for the entire fiscal year of the following year, right? While I'm thrilled that we're having that conversation, the more time that is allotted for that budgeting process, the more successful the process is going to be, the more insight that I'll be able to provide, and the greater buy-in that you'll get from your executive team or any of your stakeholders. So just make sure you give the budgeting process the proper amount of time, whatever time makes sense for you, right? So definitely very important. To recap, after the recap, just a quick summary. Effective IT budgeting is vital for organizations such as the ones that we here at SWK serve to properly allocate resources and effectively align strategic initiatives. It requires collaboration with all relevant stakeholders, flexibility, continuous monitoring, If you're a managed services client for SWK, cannot overstate this. Utilize your TAM, utilize your CAM. That is why we're here. Your success truly is our success, right? We are here to aid you in navigating the constantly changing, really complex IT landscape, whether it's on the ERP software side or on the managed services side, right? So just take advantage of us. We love these questions. We love this process. That's why we're here. We're here to serve you and to make sure that you are enabled to make the best possible decisions that you can within the constraints of your budgeting process, right? So we are here for that, and we welcome all communication, all collaboration on that front, right? So yes, definitely utilize us as much as possible. Okay, so SWK, as I've alluded to over the course of this slide, is able to provide a helping hand if needed, right? So we have an IT consulting and services division that can help you with any problems or requests to improve performance, improve security, and provide any of the services that you see listed here on this screen. If I may, cybersecurity and managed services, right? They would definitely go hand in hand. Cybersecurity, we're seeing a lot of uptick in cyber events, making sure that having an assessment done to get ahead, to essentially find out where you are as far as your cyber posture, cybersecurity posture, your cybersecurity health, the services and products. Just I definitely recommend setting something up to a budget review to take a look at your cyber posture. But otherwise, there's other services here. I would definitely recommend taking a look at. SWK is phenomenal at managing and supporting each one of these services, and we do so for many clients. And yeah, take a look at this slide, let it marinate for a little bit, and please get in touch with us to schedule a review. Speaking of scheduling your IT budget review, don't procrastinate. Schedule it today. You can meet with if you're a managed service client, you can meet with one of your technical account managers to go over the points discussed in this webinar and prepare for your future. If you're not a managed services client, don't worry. We have other people here as well that can easily go over your budget review process, make recommendations, see where you need to be, and yeah, make sure you schedule that. And now I'm going to kick this back over to Courtney, who is going to read through some poll questions and the Q&A.
Thank you, Dave. That was great. We are going to do a quick poll, and in the meantime, you can go ahead and get your questions in for the Q&A portion of the session. So we just quickly like to know, would you like to be contacted for more information? Would you like to schedule that IT budget review, learn more about our managed cloud service practice, or if it's a busy time for you, would you like us to check back in 3 months? So thank you for everyone who's answered so far. And Dave, I know we have a couple questions coming through, so I think we're in for a great Q&A session. So we're going to leave this poll open for just a bit longer, and then we'll dive right in. Okay, thank you, everyone. You have a couple more seconds, and we're going to close out this poll. Okay. Dave, you ready for some questions?
Let's go for it.
Awesome. So our first question is, do you recommend a certain time of year for a budget review, or can we do this at any time?
So my recommendation would be to have quarterly reviews of your budget. So end of the year, last quarter of the year, set something up, make sure you have a basic framework for the upcoming year. And then each of the quarters of the following year, just revisit that, review it to make sure that one, you're on point, two, if you have to pivot, you're able to pivot based on whatever condition needs to be met at that point, right? So yeah, my recommendation is make sure in Q4, the preceding year, you have a framework and then revisit that at least once a quarter.
Great. Our next question is, Where do you recommend we start when evaluating our technology?
I definitely start with your critical infrastructure. All right, so making sure that your server is up to standards, making sure your network, your physical network infrastructure, so your firewall, your switches, any modems, routers, anything that is critical, right? That we deem as critical, and that would be firewall, servers, things of that nature. That's where I would start, and then we can kind of build out from there. Going from your critical infrastructure, now we can start to look at maybe something like a wireless access point, or maybe we can start looking at workstations or different services that would enhance or what's the one I'm looking for, or where you would benefit from. Yeah.
Okay. And what if we're not a managed service client? Are you still able to help?
We are. So, as far as a technical account managers typically are reserved for managed service clients, but we also have a few other people on our team who deal directly with non-managed service clients, and maybe you're a Sage client and you're looking to get into the managed services. You can talk with one of our technical sales executives. They will also be able to perform the same services that us as a TAM would perform as well.
Awesome. And I think that's all of our questions. I'm gonna wait. We just have one more come through. So is there
Mhm.
something in particular you find people often overlook when budgeting?
Yes. So it sounds cliche. Definitely take a look at your cybersecurity stack. So we're talking your security stack, I should say. So everything from your server backup solutions to backing up your email service, right? So at SWK, we are a Microsoft shop. A lot of our managed service clients have Microsoft 365, right, or in some form or flavor, right? So there is SaaS protection there that's often overlooked. So where that would come into play is, I don't know, let's just say an email is deleted or a file or a series of files, a series of emails are deleted, and it's not realized until after the retention policy in the trash can has expired and that trash can has emptied. SaaS protection in this instance would have prevented those files from being completely eliminated. We back those up 3 times a day and can restore in the event of that. So that's just one instance, but I would definitely look at your cybersecurity stack. I would look at your warranties and extended coverage on your critical infrastructure, making sure they're up to date. Making sure your firewall support and services are up to date, making sure your warranties, extended coverage on your servers are up to date. Those are a few areas in where I would definitely start looking.
Okay, awesome. It's great to know where we need to start. So I think that's all of our questions, unless we have another last minute submission. So I'd like to thank everyone for taking some time out of their day to be with us. Thank you, Dave, for a really super informative presentation. And we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. If you did get a chance to answer the poll, there is a survey that will pop up after you leave the webinar, and we'd appreciate you letting us know what you thought in that. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your Thursday.